Hello there, it's Mr. Chime from weeklybag.com. I know it's been a while. I'm sorry for my absence. I have had some academic work to do, which demanded my time. That's why I've been off for about 3 weeks now, if not a month. So I apologize. But hey, today I'm here. Today I'm going to be talking about something that is quite important to us young working class adults. Say after we had gone through researching for an apartment, and then we applied for the apartment, and we approved for an apartment, and it's time for us to move in. After we move in, the next thing for us to do is going to be to set up utilities so we can have access to gas, electricity, sewage, trash collection, and internet. Now, before I start, I would like to talk about the types of apartment utilities you're going to be expected to pay. If you remember in episode 11, I talked about researching the hidden cost of the apartment that you want to rent. Because most times we are in such a hurry that we don't get to read through our leasing contract. And that is bad. The reason being that sometimes some hidden costs are attached to the lease, and these hidden costs are not really talked about at the time of an application until our first bill drops. So, if you have not listened to that episode, The Hidden Cost of Renting an Apartment, I recommend you go search for episode 11 and listen to it, where I talked about what to watch out for. Now, why am I talking to you about this? The reason why I'm talking to you about this is once you have moved into a new apartment, what is considered your base rent is not actually the rent you pay at the end of the month when rent is due. You have the base rent and a few other monthly expenses that come with the rent. For instance, you have sewage slash water bills, and you have water bills in addition to sewage bills. I kid you not. I talked about this in episode 11, where I told you that I didn't even know that I was paying for sewage until one day I looked into my monthly bills with respect to rent, and I looked at a well elaborated step by step cost of my rent, and I saw that in addition to my base rent, I was being charged for water bills, which is normal. In addition to water bills, I'm being charged for using the water authority service. I don't know what that means, but I was paying for it, though it wasn't a lot of money, but I was still paying for it. And in addition to that, I was also paying for sewage. And prior to moving into this new place, and this is the place I'm talking about, the place that I currently live, I didn't know that you had to pay the water authority for their service, which is providing water to you. And I'm not even talking about the water bill. And that to me was, I was amazed by it, because prior to this particular apartment, the apartment that I used to live in, I was never charged that. So it's quite important that you do your research very well, read through that lease contract. I know it's a long contract and it might be some pages, but you still have to glance through it to see if you could pick out something that is out of the ordinary. Now, the types of apartment utilities that will constitute your monthly rental expenses. You have electricity, gas, you have the internet, you have water, you have sewage, and you have trash. Now, with respect to these utilities, electricity and water bills are mandatory, right? Because while you live in that apartment, I'm sure you're going to use water to cook, you're going to use water to take a shower, you're going to use water to flush whenever you use the restroom. Water is quite important in every young working class adult, if not all human beings. So definitely nobody's going to provide that for you for free, especially in the United States. So we have to pay for that. And in addition to that, we have to pay for electricity to be able to have access to a cooling system, a warming system, charge our phones, and do whatever needs electricity, right? Now, the other rental expenses like gas, sewage, trash, or the internet might be optional. And this is why I say they might be optional. I think it depends on the apartment complex that you're with. If you're with an apartment complex that still uses gas, for their stoves or for their heating system, then chances are you're gonna pay for the use of the natural gas. Some apartments have found that they may charge you for trash collection, or they may not charge you for trash collection. Mine currently does, but you might get one that doesn't charge you. I think I've met somebody who was quite surprised when I explained that my apartment was charging me for trash collection, because hers was not charging her for trash collection. So that's quite optional depending on what your apartment complex policy is on that. Another thing is internet. Now, you may meet some apartments that may want you to use their internet, and that might be included in your rent. But usually I don't like that. The reason being that sometimes if everybody's connected to that single modem or router that they have, the internet tends to be slow. So I like to have my own stuff. And an internet expense could be a utility expense for you if you decide to go for it. So that's why I said it's optional. Now, if you don't want any internet, which I know you can survive without Wi-Fi, because I have, or I had back in my 20s, because it wasn't necessary, you could do away without the internet, right? Now, but if you fortunately find yourself in an apartment complex where you're required to use the internet, and you're being charged monthly for it, then you don't have a choice. Hence why I always emphasize on reading your lease before you sign it. Now, let's talk about setting up your utilities. Now you've moved into your new apartment. Hooray! I'm very happy for you. Congratulations. Now, the next thing for you to do now is to set up your utilities. So that way, these services could be provided for you, and you are making the appropriate payment to the appropriate companies. Now, you don't have to wait till you have moved in to set this up. You can actually set it up a few days before you move in, depending on what is convenient for you. To set up your electricity bills, I want you to call the apartment complex that you are renting from and ask them what kind of electric company they're using. Usually they give you the information. They usually have the business card or a form, or they will simply tell you to call the electric company so you can set up an account with them. Because if not, you may not be able to use electricity. Because what apartments do is when an apartment unit is not being rented, right? They pay the electric bills on that particular apartment unit. That's why the apartment have the lights and the cooling system, so that if they have someone that they show in the apartment too, the whole place won't be hot and messy and smelling musky. But as soon as somebody rents the apartment unit, so they usually call the electric company and stop the payment the day before you move in, or the day that you move in, or a day after, depending on what their policies are. So be sure to get whatever company they're using here. My company is CPS, And this is how I've always done it. After I've signed the lease, I usually collect or ask about the electric company that is being used by the apartment. Usually they tell me CPS because my city only uses CPS energy, right? And we go ahead and then call CPS, or we go to one of the branches, the office, the outlet, and I will ask, hey, I'd like to set an account for a new location that I just moved into. And then they will check your old location to see if you have any debts. If you have any debts and you move into the new location, they're still going to open that new location for you. But the thing is, the old debt that you have is going to move into the new apartment that you're going in. Take, for instance, you owe them about $50 or you owe them about $100, right? That $100, once you move into that new location, is going to transfer into that new location. So your first electric bills or electric bill is going to be the former debt that you have, $100, plus the new bill that you have. So be mindful of this when you're going to these electric companies to open an account in a new location that you're moving, or to transfer your account. It's usually called transfer, especially if you used to live in another place. It's called transfer of an account from your former residence to the new residence that you are in now. That's how you do it. You call the company, you have them set it up or transfer your account from the former location to the new location, and that is set up. And at the end of your usual electric bill due date, you get your first electric bill. The same thing is done with the gas. You talk to the apartment, because the apartment is going to tell you what kind of company they use for that, especially in big cities like New York or Miami, where you may have multiple energy companies serving each section of the city, right? So you talk to the apartment will tell you the company that they use for that, and then you call to have these things set up. With respect to trash collection, the apartment must have explained to you if they charge you for trash collection, which most do, by the way. And all you have to do for that is nothing, because it will be added on top of your base rent. There's nothing for you to set up, unless it's that kind of apartment where you are told to find whoever is going to come pick up your trash, and then you pay them independently. That I don't really like, because that will constitute a variable expense. Excuse me, a variable expense for you, meaning that you don't get to pay the same amount of money for trash collection, depending on whoever is available to come pick up your trash. So I wouldn't recommend that. With respect to sewage, it depends on the part of the city that you are in or the district. If there is a sewage fee or a water authority fee, I don't think you have to worry about that, because the apartment itself, we analyze what that is and then add that on top of your base rent, because that's what they usually do. With respect to the internet, like I mentioned earlier, you can do without an internet if you are a struggling young working class adult in your 20s. But if you have a very good paying job and you can afford Wi-Fi, and the apartment is not trying to force down their own version of Wi-Fi down your throat, you could just go out there and look for the cheapest Wi-Fi that you could find. For me, my Wi-Fi, I paid $45 monthly, and I think it's enough to do whatever it is that I do with the internet, which is talk to you currently, write my articles on my personal finance platform, do my academic work, and some other things that I do with the internet, which is watch movies and learn a new language, and every other thing that requires the internet, by the way. So if you think you can do without getting a Wi-Fi, especially if you're somebody that is not a TV person and you don't use a printer, in the sense that you don't need to be printing out documents, or you don't have anything that requires massive use of Wi-Fi, I think your phone can simply suffice, right? Especially if you're into cutting down cost of living. But if you have a very good job where you can afford all these things, I say go for it. Just go for the cheapest one. And that's what I do. If you can find one that is cheaper than $45, I say go for it. But if not, it's all right. Just find one that is the cheapest in your city, to be able to do that. I think that's all I have got for you today. It's very important that you set up these utilities so you don't have an issue with your apartment complex. You could do it a few days before you move in or the day that you move in. So that way, your apartment is not going to charge you extra fees for having to carry on paying electricity because you have not transferred your electric service to your new apartment. Well, now that you've gotten your new place, I congratulate you once again, and I hope it's going to be a wonderful experience for you. Just know to keep your rental expenses down if you could, and put aside a little bit of that paycheck that you get monthly. It's going to go a long way for you, my friend. That's all I've got to say today. Chime out.